Welcome then to another weekly edition of What a Shout Racing Post News Show. Delighted Dave Orton here to say I'm joined this week by Bruce Millington in the seat, doyen of the Racing Postcards, heavyweight columnist, heavyweight jockey or former heavyweight jockey, Andrew Tinkler, 2 festival winners he's got on his back, and co-hosting with me going forward is JJ Hamblett, none other than bringing in a new decade. It says here, JJ, that something about a new age boy band being formed right here in the studio.
I think there's a chance, no?
Don't know, Bruce. My boy band days probably behind.
Should we try Harmony?
No, we'll give it a go.
Not sure about that. I think we'll just get on to the hot topics. What have we got coming up, JJ?
Yeah, so coming up today, we have all of this, including the hot topic, should Cheltenham be 5 days, and our best bets for the weekend. Bruce, hot topic of the day. The new Cheltenham chairman, Martin St Quinton, hasn't ruled out a 5-day festival. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's very interesting because they always, in the past, Cheltenham have said, no, we're going to stick at 4. So are they opening the door to it? Possibly. What's the reaction going to be within racing? I think people will be very anti. Personally speaking, I don't mind. The main thing for me is that there should be a weekend day at the festival. There's too many people in racing forget that lots of people, hard-working, can't afford to take a day off to go to the festival. So whatever happens, whether it's 4 or 5, it should end on the Saturday. I wouldn't mind doing a 5, 6 race cards. They're talking about having to chuck one of the races out. You don't need to do that then. You can keep them all, and you can even get the race that I've always been saying we should have, which is a 2.5 mile championship hurdle.
Do you think that having a 5-day might weaken the racing? Having a 5-day?
You don't need the race you just said.
Why not?
Because you've got the world hurdle, you've got the champion hurdle.
Yeah, one's over 2 miles and one's over 3.
It dilutes it too much.
Well, does the JLT and
I think
the
the
Ryanair
chases are
everything?
different. The champion hurdle is already weak enough. I don't think.
Where do they get the races from? What comes in? What are we looking at? The 2.5.
Well, we've got the mares races coming in anyway.
Point-to-point bumper. Will 2-year-olds be running?
They're going to happen, the mares races. That's why they're talking about chucking 2 races out this summer, isn't it?
They are. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so from a jockey's perspective, professionally, listen, every day wants to be Christmas, right? I mean,
of course, and if you win, going on to what Bruce said about the Saturday Gold Cup, etc., I don't think if you're winning the Gold Cup, you don't care whether it's a Monday, Tuesday or Saturday, it doesn't really matter. 4 days, I think that's loads. I think 5 days is too much.
Is having a weekend, though, quite good for the owners? Having a weekend day, good for owners which possibly can't get there for the races because they're working, etc., or for the spectators?
I think the owners, if you've got to run at Cheltenham Festival, you're there anyway.
The owners will get there, but the crowd, you know, these
the 1 week off you're having that.
Yeah. These hard-working people. Look what happened at Ascot. The Heath Day on the Saturday used to be a small beer. It wasn't even part of the Royal Meeting. They had 20,000 people there. There's now 80,000 people there. It's part of the Royal Meeting, and you'd never turn the clock back on that. I think you can recreate that.
Yeah, I think Ascot is a very good point. It has worked, hasn't it? That's the 5 days then. Bruce is pro. Right then, let's look at some festival clues. New Year's Day, the Dipper Chase is where we've got to start. Champ, my goodness gracious me, the good thing of the day. Absolutely winging it into the home straight comes Barry Geraghty. Tinkler, what went wrong at that second last fence? He came down. Where do we go with him?
He was very obviously. He needs to run again. And if you were a supporter of him going into the festival, you'd need to see a good round of jumping in. I think the Rendlesdown is going to be his race. Up until then, he'd been very, very good. It was a very novice fall.
He would have won, wouldn't he?
Oh, definitely. He had the rest cooked, but he showed the fence very little respect. People will say this and that, but he needs to step up on his jumping, I think, to be a player. But he has got the engine every trainer wants.
But talk us through that incident, because I mean, the horse was absolutely tanking along. He was flying. There's a lot of people, the armchair jockeys on social media have been saying that Geraghty should have done better. But to me, the horse just basically ran as if the fence wasn't there. I'm not sure anyone could have stayed.
The horse showed the fence no respect. He'd been good all the way around, some tight, some on long strides. He'd been good all the way around. I thought it was his best round till then. But
did you? Because I thought it was pretty scruffy.
I think Barry was sort of educating him as well on the way around. He's come off the bend, he was flying. The rest of him were cooked, and he just showed the fence no respect. He will be intensely schooled, and the Rendlesdown will be a great watch. And to be a supporter of his, he needs to come out and do what he was doing, but do it all the way around.
Yeah, Nicky's got a great record in the Rendlesdown. Vita de Rock, I think, was his last winner. But some people were purring about the Stayers hurdle for him afterwards, Bruce, weren't they? It wasn't all plain sailing at Newbury when he won either, was it? So
no, it wasn't. I mean, he doesn't look a natural to me by any means, and I think he's got, Nicky Henderson's got a zillion challenges between now and Cheltenham, and one's going to be teaching that thing to jump. But the trouble is, if you want to come back down the hurdles route, what are you going to do? You're taking on Paisley Park. I mean, he's bomb-proof.
You've got one horse to aim at, I suppose, haven't you? Comparisons, of course, with Mike Bite falling in the Corto Star. He came back, didn't he? I think he went to Doncaster, didn't he? It was a small prep for him, confidence booster, and on he goes. Last 8-year-old to win the RSA as well, Champ being an 8-year-old.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Nicky Henderson schools his horses better than I think anyone.
Yeah.
And this horse will be schooled within an inch of its life. If he turns up in the Rendlesham, I think he'll put in a good performance. And if you're a supporter going into Cheltenham, like I say, I'd still be on side. He's a good horse.
Still the champion.
So we're now seeing the leading contenders for the Gold Cup, guys. Who's topping the list?
I think the way Album Photo won the other day was very impressive. I thought he was better this year around than he was the year before. He seems to be getting his jumping more together, and at the moment, to me, he's favourite.
And what about Kenboy?
I mean,
Won at Punchestown Gold Cup last year.
Yeah, but I thought it was slightly disappointing. Look, my view on the Gold Cup is that there are a ton of horses really closely matched this year, and I think they could all finish in a heap, and the market's going to decide. I think I'm going to be looking at taking a horse at double-figure price that I think's got probably a better chance than maybe the hype and the general market thinks. So I don't think there's going to be that many more clues on the Gold Cup between now and March.
No, but it is only January the 3rd. I think we're
Yeah,
talking
but-
about the Gold Cup way too early.
Well, yeah, but you say that, but in recent years, they haven't been running that much in January and February. So, in actual fact, we might... All right, we've now got we've got the Dublin Racing Festival, so that should see a few more. But the way it is now, I'm going to be looking at a horse at a big price who's maybe flown under the radar.
What about the novices from last season? Because Delta Works stepped up, didn't he? In the Savills chase. That was a hell of a finish, wasn't it? And you're looking at the likes of Monley up against him, presenting Percy in that race. Were we expecting a bit more from him?
Yeah, not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me.
At the moment, you just hear the trainer to be training more winners. He's obviously a very, very good horse, but he underperformed last year, and you need a leap of faith to be on his back.
What about Santini? Because now McGinty didn't do that form any good, did he, in the Welsh National? I was on him.
He
that
didn't,
day.
but I think Santini just badly needed the run at Sandown, and he'd be valued for a lot more. I think he's a lazy horse at home, apparently, hard horse to get fit, but he's a strong stayer and he wouldn't be out of it.
I'll give Lost in Translation another chance because, there seemed to be a reason for that poor run. They've had his wind done and, Cheltenham's going to be more up his alley than Kempton.
Well, people are blaming him a mistake for Lost in Translation. He made the mistake because he was on the back foot. He was already beat. He needs to bounce back, but the wind operation is interesting that they've heard something that they can find improvement.
Maybe go to Newbury, the Denman chase, something like that, and he's back up and running.
Horses can soon be forgotten from one bad run.
It's a brutally hard race, so at this stage, I find it the biggest headache of the whole festival.
A mind boggler then, the Gold Cup. Okay then, time for a question for JJ then, and let's not forget JJ, you did start cutting your teeth with likes of Gosden,
Yes.
Stout. Was it back in 2003 you started as an apprentice?
2002, 2003, yeah.
You rode some proper horses for them, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I was fortunate enough to ride some great horses. I rode out Criskin, sat on North Light, obviously Derby winners. Rode some nice races, rode for the Queen a few times, and yeah, very fortunate.
I think she rode for the Queen, didn't you?
Did very lucky to ride some winners.
JP McManus and the likes of that.
Didn't have a winner, yeah.
I've not got the silks on, Bruce. I don't know about you. Maybe pyjamas is about as close
It's a
as
nice thing to have on the CV.
So let's have a look at the insight, perhaps, what you can give us about a trainer and a jockey. What does it really take for you to click with a trainer? Without necessarily naming names?
No, it's all about teamwork, I think. It's not just there's so much pressure for any trainer keeping the owners happy. It's such a big... it's a big group of people, and I just think it's just trying to keep everyone happy. And if the owners, if the trainers and the jockeys have that good relationship, like, for example, prime example is Frankie Dettori and John Gosden. The last couple of years, if you've seen them, they've, such a great relationship inside of work and outside of work. And I think there's so much pressure in horse racing, keeping the owners happy and keeping everyone happy, and it's all about teamwork.
I think what they have is trust. They trust each other massively.
Of course.
Is that the same with you, Nicky?
Yeah, you've got to have trust in your jockey if you're a trainer.
He gave you loads of opportunities, Nicky, didn't he?
Oh,
You
he
won
did.
champion
And,
hurdles and
I had some great rides from my 2 Cheltenham Festival winners came from Mr. Henderson, from Nicky, and
Call the Cops and
Greenhope when I was very young. Yeah, I won the
Grand
Grand
Annual.
Annual.
And so, Andrew, what about a modern day trainer jockey combo who exemplify that trust that you're talking about? I mean, I guess the Skelton brothers are a really good example.
Those two are the best example going. They trust each other massively. They win together, they lose together. It doesn't always go right in racing. And when it goes wrong, it's those partnerships that stand up to it and go, we did this wrong or we did this wrong. Let's do this next time.
Did you find either of you that you were the victim of blame the jockey unfairly? Did you ever think that you got off and you got the flamethrower treatment and you didn't really deserve it?
I think definitely scapegoat sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So you can never. It's not all the time you can get it right. There's some mistakes jockeys do make, but like I said, there's so much pressure for a jockey and a trainer to get it right, and sometimes it just doesn't go the way. So there is, and obviously the owners, and not just the owners, the people who work at the stables are going to blame the jockey, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it goes.
Blame the jockey. None of us have ever done that, have we?
So guys, tomorrow we start off with the Unibet Mares Hurdle race at 12:45. What are you guys thinking for that?
Silver forever. For me, good form, yeah, daughter of Jeremy, likes the ground, it's had 35 days since the last run, good chance.
Supposed to run at Taunton, wasn't it? Was that the ground thing? Was it a ground issue?
Not sure, I just think that she's got a good profile coming to this race and I think she's listed quality.
It's pretty tacky there tomorrow at Sandown,
Chucked it. I live quite near Sandown and it absolutely chucked it down last night. So I think, I thought it was going to be drying this week and it was, but I think it's going to go back to being pretty testing.
Well, let's have a look at the big race then tomorrow, the 225, the Grade 1 action that we've got, the Unibet Tolworth Novices Hurdle. It's been a big race in recent years for Cheltenham Clues, isn't it? Think about it, York Hill won it a couple of years ago.
Surge won,
Somerville Boy beat Kalashnikov, they were the 1-2 in the Supreme. We're looking at maybe Fiddler on the Roof for Colin Tizard, won 2 of the last 3. Just remember there, Alicia Denutz last year, of course. Son of Camas, horse I really like for Nicky Henderson. Then you've got Silver Hallmark, hang in there as well. Silver Hallmark's quite interesting, Bruce, isn't he?
He is. I mean, the market makes it the other 3 are dominating, but I think with Silver Hallmark, he's very progressive based on what he did to reverse the form in Fabulous last time. So I think he's the one for the value seekers. I'm going to opt for Fiddler on the Roof just because I just think the form of that last run at Sandown, he really was formidable. The form's stacking up, so it's a very difficult race. Time will tell how good this is. It could be pretty good, but I'm going to go with Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, Finian's Oscar was his other winner as well. Shows you what sort of class of animal he brings. Tinks?
I like Son of Camas, but I also like Emily Vell's horse, Hang In There.
Hang In There is interesting. I spoke to her actually in December about this horse, and it is proper apple of the eye stuff.
It was very soft ground. He was very soft ground when he won at Cheltenham. He did it the nice way. Jumps well. He's got more experience than Son of Camas, and I think he'll put it to good use.
Son of Camas for me is absolutely fascinating. The market can't have him. The both times he's run in that bumper, I think it was 9-1 or something crazy like that.
He did beat King Roland though.
King Roland has since come out and of course trounced opposition and broke track records at Exeter and things like that. So all in all, we're looking at a pretty classy race here, JJ.
Yeah, it's a tight one definitely. But like I said, I think King of Camas, I said earlier, beat King of Roland, which was so impressive at Exeter. Like you said, beat the track record. I think he's got a great shot tomorrow.
Let's just get a shout then. Fiddler on the Roof, the big chaser.
I'll go Fiddler on the Roof, but I think this is a race that even if you don't have a bet, you should watch because there's going to be loads and loads of clues.
Yeah.
Hang in there.
Hang in there for you. Son of Camas for me. Son of Camas.
Son of Camas for me.
The presenter's double it is.
So guys, here at What a Shout, we're all about the big races and the big calls. So we're going to head over to Paul Kealy.
And if you've been watching the last couple of weeks, I think you might already have a clue exactly what he's going to harp on about.
I was certain Shackleton was going to be a much shorter price for the champion chase after the Christmas period, but he got beat and he's a bigger price now. But that just makes me want to back him even more, and I'm going to double down and suggest you go in again. He's a slightly bigger price, and he doesn't really deserve to be. He travelled like a dream, and it was just a case of fitness. And if you look at Willie Mullen's record with his great horses, Hurricane Fly, Faugheen, even Min in recent seasons, they've all been beaten early at the season at short prices, and they've all come back to Cheltenham and run their hearts out and won the big races. And I think Shackleton is the really, really classy 2-mile chaser.
Well, he's been banging this drum, Bruce. Shackleton I've got a feeling he's rather deep on this one.
Well, the thing that, look, I can understand that you could say, he's come back, he's run well for a long way and just got tired towards the end. But the trouble with that argument is that the vibes before that race were so strong that he was going to demolish that field and then be odds on for the champion chase. So, what's wrong, the pre-race view or the post-race view? I'm not sure. I mean, I think he's priced about right. Of course, the key is whether Altior turns up. Do you think he will, Andrew?
I think he will, but he goes back to the Clarence house now for his return to action.
Well, he could meet Deffy.
He could meet Deffy. Deffy's the one for me in this race, but Altior comes back to the Clarence house, a track where he's not at his best. He jumps out to the left, he loses, half a length of fence. He's got to bounce back from his defeat by Surname, and look what that did to Surname. Probably didn't to them both.
We had Harry Cobden in last week, chaps, and he was, obviously he was on Surname. He said I was beaten before the first fence, and that led us on to talking about what sort of hard races these two heavyweights had at Ascot.
Yeah, I mean, big races can bottom horses out, but more often than not, they don't. I think Altior's still really interesting. I mean, if he was mine, I'd still be looking at Ryanair minimum. I think dropping him back to 2 miles, I just think he's more of a stayer than he is a 2 miler these days.
If you look at the way he was winning last year, he was only just scraping home, wasn't he? So maybe that step up.
He's not going to run Ryanair, is he?
But he was still winning. Like he wasn't getting beat.
But he took so long to get going, though, didn't he? You know, last year's Champion Chase. I mean, it was only really in the last after they jumped the last that he's got going.
I know, but there's no prize money at last. It's at the line, isn't it?
I know.
I think like
Will Nicky? He's done me there, hasn't he? Will Nicky go for the Ryanair without you?
No, Champion Chase.
Like I said, I don't think you can, like I said, Andrew said as well, you can't rule him out. He didn't suit Ascot. Yes, he might be running there again, but he's going back to Cheltenham, his favourite track. You can't.
So who's your Champion Chase?
I like Shackleton Swan with Kills a little bit on this. I thought he went wide all the way. I thought Paul Townend sent him on a little bit. That leap 3 out showed his class. Yes, we're expecting something, Corto-like from the market, but I just think he's entitled to come off that. Applutard had the run as well.
What's the jump jockey's view?
Jump jockey's view is that waiting patiently could outrun his price under a stalking ride from Burton.
If he turns up.
If he turns up. They ran a great race in Tingle Creek. If you come to Cheltenham with a stalking ride, he's a good each-way play.
That's a Champion Chase then. Okay, time for this week's My Racing Double. If you don't know what My Racing is, it's a website out there, free racing tips, expert advice. I've got to say, a couple of these are landed on the opening day. We had an 18.5 to 1 double. Not so good last week. Classical Dream letting the side down. What are they going for this week out there for you? Okay, quick comment on this if you don't mind, lads. Son of Camas doubled up in the 3:35 with gunnery, the 2 mile handicap hurdle. What do we think? 2 Henderson horses.
Two Henderson horses, 2 very, very good chances. Son of Camas is in a very hot grade 1 like we discussed, but the gunnery goes there in good form and every chance.
Okay, a solid double then potentially for you. If you want to get involved, don't you, of course, sign up to racingpost.com for all the best offers.
So guys, another big race tomorrow is the 3 o'clock Sandown, the Unibet Veterans Handicap Chase. What are we all thinking tomorrow?
Well, first of all, it's a fabulous race. It's 60 grand for the winner. It's named after the brilliant Houblon des Obeaux, who obviously lost his life at the track last month. And it's ultra competitive. There are 14 gnarly old veterans who will jump round and stay and do their running, and therefore it's very, very difficult
Probably
indeed.
the most competitive race of the day tomorrow.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I love Veterans Chase. I think they're one of the best innovations racing's had. I'm going to go for Dark Flame. He was second in that Void race last month, and the horse that won it doing fine won at Cheltenham, so the form's looking pretty decent. Quick line, Andrew, by the way. Those jockeys, did they get away with one there by having their bans repealed?
I think that in the future the rules will probably change, and I don't think they could have withhold their ban up and then change the rule a month later. So there needs to be a clearer picture. I think it was the right thing to do for racing that they all got off.
Seemingly the jockeys need a big air raid siren, don't they, to tell them to stop in a race. Yeah. As a PR exercise as well, this is going to be important for the track, isn't it, I think. Houblon des Obeaux, you mentioned. Venetia Williams has got Burton's well in there. I was really impressed with him first time up at Aintree. Bounced last time, Tinks, at Haydock.
It didn't jump that well as he can at Haydock. You'd like to see more fluency around Sandown tomorrow, but about on the back of his old form, he's got every chance.
She'll be desperate to win it, won't she?
And she's flying.
Jepek, we think, might be potentially... market leader, potentially King's Odyssey as well for Evan Williams, who of course won it a couple of years back with the classic horse. Bywise, of course, won it, didn't he? Absolutely. It's for these sort of old characters, isn't it? Great chance to get the head in front, but they're extremely competitive races, and the punters love them, don't they?
They really do. I mean, this isn't a race, but I don't think anyone can sit down and say, do you know what, I strongly fancy this.
Because they're going to go hammer tongs up front.
It's so open. We know them all. They're all very exposed, but they're all also very closely matched, obviously. The trouble is, the punters know all about them, so does the handicapper. So he knows exactly where they should be. And they're all he's got them down all crossing the line together. Yeah. A thriller lies in store, I know that.
Yeah, big time. I love the fact that they're going to go hard up front. Therefore, I think King's Odyssey is the one, Bruce.
I'm going to go Dark Flame.
Tinks?
As well.
Okay, all right, fair enough. There's your vets race. Well, time to talk about some of the Irish racing, bumper Irish racing that we had. I mean, there was sprills and spills, great finishes, great commentaries as well, wasn't it? What about the Paddy Power Test? Roaring Bull! You've never seen anything like it, JJ Hamblett, have you?
I thought it was absolutely superb. And I backed the horse that got picked up as well, Fitzhenry. So I was kind of gutted, but you just had to laugh in there, and it was brilliant, wasn't it? It was
a new octave, they said, didn't it? And it makes you think about some of the commentaries have gone by. Falbrav and Simon Holt. I mean, Falbrav, he said, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? Bruce, we were talking off it.
The great thing with Simon Holt is that he just completely loses it in the final 50 yards. He has this kind of commentary orgasm, doesn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. And I remember, I think it was Direct Route and Edridge on Blue.
It was
just brilliant. It was
that was Graham Good, of course, wasn't it, back then?
No, it was
Simon Holt, was it, of course?
Because you felt Simon's voice couldn't go any higher, and then just at the end he finds this new pitch.
It was exactly the same with Enable and Crystal Ocean at Ascot.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the passion
Richard
behind
Hoyles,
him.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Another
amazing.
heavyweight commentator. So Jeremy Hannon just about topping the tree for that roaring bull?
Oh, it was pretty incredible. It was nice to hear him speak after it as well. Otherwise, he probably collapsed off his chair.
I think if you're at the track as well, it must have been some crack, mustn't it?
Oh, well, brilliant.
So top commentary, top racing as well. One performance we must concentrate on because it's going to be a huge talking point going forward. The machine, the Faugheen, Bruce.
Well, this is potentially the story of the festival, isn't it? Because we all love Faugheen, former champion hurdler, absolute superstar, but he's had his problems, in recent years. He had that awful fall where I think we were all concerned that he might not get up from. And he's come back, and at 12 years old now, he's beaten Samcro the other day, and he's now joint favourite for the Marsh, which is what used to be the JLT. If you hear reference to the Marsh, that's what that is. And, who's to say he can't win it? I mean, you don't get 12-year-old novices doing these RPRs of 166, but... I mean, Andrew, he's breaking every rule in the book as far as the chasing career goes.
He doesn't look that old going around there, does he? Beating Samcro.
Of course, because of his injuries, that means he's not maybe got so many miles under the chassis, has he? But
maybe, but his respect to a fence is very good. The way he goes about it, his technique is very good. Ever since he banked that fence on his first day,
that
but
punches down.
He beat Samcro. He beat him well.
Samcro got a race price rating 157, Bruce. Now they're talking about going handicap routes with him. Does that dampen it slightly, or they're just thinking, look, we've been beaten by the best?
The trouble is, because obviously of what happened with Fakir Doudary in the race against Fakir Doudary, we still don't actually know how good Samcro is. He had that comeback win, which wasn't against very much. So, and last year's form was poor. So we do have to take that with a slight.
I think it's a clearer picture now that Fakir Doudary would probably have beaten it.
Faugheen then, absolute story going forward.
So guys, a big discussion we're going to be talking about now. So which favourite do you think could potentially get beat at the Cheltenham Festival?
Well, I wouldn't be laying
short-priced.
Yeah, I wouldn't be laying anything at this stage because I don't lay things at 3-1 and 4-1. But if there's a favourite that I wouldn't want to back, and we've talked about him earlier, it's Champ in the RSA. I mean, he's 7-2. I couldn't go near that. I don't think he jumps well enough. And I respect what Andrew said earlier that Nicky Henderson is obviously the absolute master, and that he potentially can between now and March get the horse jumping again. But I didn't, quite apart from coming down at 2 out, I thought it was a really scruffy round of jumping, and he wouldn't be for me
It's
at all.
It's worrying to back someone who doesn't jump that well.
He's got a big layers target on his back now, isn't he? Come the festival time, if he gets through Ascot, coming to 2 out, layers are going to be thinking this could be it again, couldn't they? Yeah, it's interesting at 7-2. Tinks, you got one?
At the moment, again, back to jumping. If Andre Allen runs against Abracadabras, I think will get beat.
He's 7-2 now, Abracadabras, isn't he? On the back of that smash job, at the Christmas festival, that was impressive. And that
it was, but I'm not sure some of the others quite turned up to their true
Does
form.
that suggest that Envoy Allen might be going champion out of Bruce Newsworthy?
Well, I suspect that again we will find out at the 11th hour, and I think they'll fancy it. I think everyone who's got a horse and who's got potential as a 2-mile hurdler will be looking at the champion hurdle field and thinking, hang on a sec, is this it?
Yeah.
So there'll be novices stepping up, and it's going to be very, very interesting.
He could turn out again this weekend, of course, on Envoy Allen.
He has.
Rhinestone Cowboy, don't forget, ran in the champion hurdle. Novices can do it. If I had one at the moment, I think I'm probably looking towards Altior in the champion chase. I'm thinking, is he going to turn up there? He's got so much to prove at the moment as well. I think the new breed coming through, if he ran up against the likes of Deffy last year of what he is now, I'm not sure he would have got away with it. I'm not 100% sure. I think Altior at the moment, if he was to go for the champion chase, for me at the moment, he's a bit of a dodge spot, I think.
I just think with Altior, like we mentioned earlier, it's the course, isn't it? He's proved himself there. He's a class individual. I think you've got a rule last. Yeah, but yeah.
I don't know.
Who's going to beat him?
I think he's got a bit to prove. I think Deffy's there, and as I've said, I'm a Shackleton fan. I think that Shackleton Plus Swat could well be the one. Time we've all been waiting for then, a nap from each of our panellists going forward. I'm going to get him first, if you don't mind, at Kempton. You're going to have to wait till 6:40 for the one. Astro Machia. I think he can reverse that form with Rainbow Dreamer. Joe Fanning getting on. Bruce, give us one up.
Well, the bookmakers are offering very generous each way terms in that veterans race. So you're getting Dark Flame with 4 places. That'll do for me. Not ultra confident, but...
Palladium for me in the juvenile hurdle at Sandown.
Interesting horse.
Yeah, ran very well at Warwick. Escapes a penalty for short head defeat. The horse at 1 ran well behind the bit of a free call Mankind at Chepstow. Palladium for me.
Stiffer finish should be right.
Stiffer finish. Sandown, like I say, escapes a penalty against some nice rivals who have got the penalties for winning. But I think that escaping the penalty will put him in front.
Cheers, thanks. JJ.
I'm sticking with Son of Camus in the Tolworth. He was impressive at Newbury last time. He beat King of Roland, which, like we mentioned, broke the track record at Exeter. I think he could be there or thereabouts tomorrow.
There are your weekend winners.
So what we're going to talk about now is the big call in the studio. We want one big topic, one big call, what you think could help racing potentially throughout the season.
Tinks, away you go.
Prize money to come further down. I think the top horses will still compete at the top level if the money was slightly less, and it's a small man that's struggling. I think trainers we're losing too many of the good small trainers nowadays, and I think that's down to prize money.
Has prize money not gone up slightly though?
I think
all round,
but also as the cost of keeping horses, travelling, etc., etc. So it all works together, and I think racing could just spread it a bit more.
It's a bit too Premier League.
To me, it feels like there's a lot of trainers now really on the breadline. It's getting worse now.
It's getting worse, and it's hard for them. It's hard for them to compete against the big guys. And when you're going around, and don't get me wrong, the 0 to 100s aren't great races, but you're going around for pittance.
Peter High at the latest, of course, to call it a day.
Yeah, good guy, and sad to see him go.
I'm going to go for 48-hour jumps, Dex. It has always absolutely baffled me that they introduced it on the flat and then didn't do it for jumps. The reason is that the jumps trainer said, well, it can rain and the going can change much quicker. But we need to know who's running when at the 48-hour stage, and there is no logic and no justification for it not being brought in right now.
Yeah, it's just the trainers that don't fancy that, isn't it? Absolutely. I think amen all the way to that. And talking about who needs to be when and where, my big call, this is what I want to see this year. Can somebody please tell Willie Mullins and Ballydoyle to declare their jockeys at the time of the horses? In no racing jurisdiction anywhere else would you be allowed that.
You shouldn't be telling them. The authority should be making them do it. It's ludicrous.
There is a fine system, I think, but you never hear about it getting dished out, do you? And let's face it, you want to see, don't you, on Thursday before a Saturday, exactly who Ryan Moore's on. We know he doesn't always get it right. Anthony Van Dyke in the Derby. Shamey Heffernan can ride them. But you want to see the pecking order. The sure bookmakers are the same as well. For me, I just don't get it why they're the only ones that are allowed not to do it.
Couldn't agree more.
My big call would probably be agreeing with Andrew, what Andrew said. I think I thought initially that prize money has gone up in horse racing, but like you said, I think you've got to think of the smaller trainers, the smaller owners, which potentially don't have that much money, and they're putting everything they can into horse racing. I think prize money, they need something back. It's very difficult for any owner, any small trainer, to be gaining anything from it unless the prize money went up.
Well, there was some good news on that front without getting too political this week with some deals with bookmakers in terms of streaming and how much they're going to pay, and that will bolster a lot of the prize money that was lost when the betting shops started closing.
That's great news for punters. It means you don't have to have a bet to watch these races as well, do you? So, new decade, good time to change. Well, that's about all we've got time for here. Then a massive thanks to Bruce Millington, Andrew Tinkler, myself and JJ. Hosted absolute bell to this. Don't forget, if you like these, put your comments on below, swipe up on Instagram. Don't forget to download the free Racing Post app on the App Store and, of course, the Play Store as well.
Yeah, guys, we'll be back next Friday, but we'll be joined by Wayne Hutchinson and Paul Kealy.